Good afternoon, people. Yeah, I just wanted to come on this afternoon to have a little brief discussion on a few actionable items. Yeah, I don't really want to spend too much time discussing these things today due to the fact my time is limited. But let me just go on and start off. The first item that I have on the list is in regards to the Big Brother, um, the Big Brother, the current Big Brother winner. I think his first name is Xavier, and it's supposed to be such to be a historical event for the Big Brother franchise due to the fact in its 23 season reign. Mr. Xavier, his name is Xavier Prather. Mr. Xavier is the first black person to win the Big Brother prize, and also has received the largest cash prize of $750,000. Um, Another part about it that they had that Mr. Xavier is part of a collective known as the Cookout, and that was the final contestants on the Big Brother episode, and all those contestants happened to be black. Now I don't know what kind of generally something like that would cause a bit of a hullabaloo amongst the more purist Big Brother fans, if you kind of the alabaster fans of the Big Brother franchise, well, at least some of them, I should say all of them, because they'll think of it as anytime for some folks, anytime a black person attains some type of victory or achievement, there has to be some type of uh, let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? Some type of catch to it. Either that black person does something underhanded in order to achieve that victory, or either that victory is given to them in some form of affirmative action type of situation. Now, congratulations to Mr. Prather, but the problem that I have now is like, a few years ago, back a few years ago, there was a situation where in the Oscars they had nominated any movies that had any black actors or actresses in them, and they came up with the hashtag Oscar so white due to the fact that they felt there wasn't enough black representation in movies and films and just television programs, what have you. Now, the thing about it is that um, that particular year, there was a boycott. There was allegedly supposed to be a boycott for the Oscars, but of course, as we know, as of the fact, Chris Rock, he was more than honored to go ahead and take the stage and do the honors of issuing out the awards, even though I'm sure maybe less than the normal amount of black actors and actresses were in the audience, but I'm sure if I remember correctly, there probably was a few specks out there regardless. But nevertheless, I say that to say this: there was a push for after that, there was a push for black representation. Now, the thing about uh, things that black people may ask for or need or want underneath the system, uh, to be honest, from my interpretation, the white supremacist generally doesn't have a problem with giving you we're giving the prisoners in the prison certain benefits or allowances, as long as those benefits or allowances don't interfere or affect the system. Now, when you look at some of the representation, well, some of the avenues in which the media currently uses to represent black people, or I guess since we're in America, let's just be say specific to Black American black representation in media. Seldom do you see a situation where they have a black male lead character as a problem solver, a leader, someone who is in encompassing someone who handles the business, an owner, or basically what I'm saying is the type of representation that may motivate uh, a viewer, a young viewer, or even a viewer of older age, of a grown age, in order to push them forward in order to just to achieve a similar type of outcome. That representation, if it's there, I don't see it pushed. I don't see it promoted. Because, and the reason I believe that is because that type of representation is the type of representation that threatens the status quo. Because anytime you might get to a point where there's an organized group of black men that go about the work of solving problems, that go about the business of representing ourselves, and to the point where we are seen as, you know, even though we can't officially, officially be men. We may be biologically men, whatever, but officially men as man, be a man, a manager of things in this system. We cannot be that because whatever benefits, whatever goodies, or whatever things that we may need underneath this system ultimately has a 6 degree or less a separation towards the dominant side society, or should I say, the white supremacist. But the thing about it, once again, what I say is that the white supremacists will give you all types of representation, as much representation as you want. It represent here, represent there, you represent however you want. But two things: the dominant society, or the white supremacist, reserves the right to give the guidelines of the representation you may have. You can represent yourself, but the type of representation, the manner in which you represent yourself, always has to go by the white supremacy. It always has to pass that. And the second thing is you can do as much representation, you can get as much representation you want in our media, as long as that representation doesn't threaten the system. But that's enough on that. The next thing I want to get to is the whistleblower, Facebook whistleblower, who all of a sudden, due to the fact that she feels that let's see here, the Facebook whistleblower renews. This is what I got this. I got this from the NPR uh, site. It said Facebook's new whistleblower is renewing scrutiny of the social media giant. This woman's name is Frances Haugen. Frances Haugen was on 60 Minutes, and she's a former employee of Facebook. And she had kept her identity a secret after sharing thousands of pages of internal Facebook documents to the media and federal law enforcement. Now, I look at that and I say, okay, now what would provoke her all of a sudden to have this epiphany of morals and outrage in order to share this information? Now, she says Facebook over and over again has shown it chooses profit over safety. Facebook is a company. It's not. It went from private into public, But the thing about it, I mean, is it a business that involves public safety? What manner of safety is she speaking of? Because really, even in the end of things, it's like the narrative wants to come around. It's like, well, just because these people talk this way on social media, it automatically force others to do certain things, actions out in public. That is really, I mean, I guess greater minds or more minds more efficient than mine and might have studied it. That seems to be like something that is hard. I mean, we watch cartoons and we saw, saw people fall off cliffs and stuff back like that and get back up and walk away. But that wasn't necessarily. We had. I guess many of us had well enough sense to know that we couldn't just jump off a cliff and get back up and then go to the next scene, without no broken arms, legs, nothing like that. It's like, well, this to me seems as if, I don't know. I look at her doing this sudden confession, or I mean, I don't say confession, sudden whistleblowing, and it comes at a time where it's kind of politically feasible, well, politically beneficial to to the Democratic Party, because for one thing that such an announcement coming because they're really still trying to draw back the hillbilly revolution of January the 6th. I mean, well, where they they walked down and peacefully protested through breaking and entering the Capitol. What they really want to do is they want to try to put that though the actions of though I guess those few thousand people and use that as an initiative to police millions. So, because Facebook is a multi has billions and billions and millions of people. Well, lots and lots of people on there. Now, my problem with Facebook is that it's not necessarily that. Okay, well, maybe it's funny. It seems funny to me if they're allowing all this hatred and violence and things of that nature to go on. Um, I speak pretty. I don't even want to say right. I speak pretty authoritatively on things that I know about, and I speak against injustice, and injustice is by definition the system of white supremacy. So I speak against the system of white supremacy because my ultimate objective is just codified to replace the system of white supremacy with a system of justice where everyone is treated fairly. The person who deserves the most constructive help receives it, and no one is mistreated. That is the basic of a just system. Um, I have a Facebook page, and I mean a lot. If people who already know and deal with me, as a matter of fact, I'm sure there's a video on this page where me and Facebook have a love hate relationship. I love the fact that I can contact just about anybody I've met in my life through Facebook. I love the fact that I can meet new people. We can discuss all types of information and make all types of connections through Facebook. However, the thing that I have about the issue I have with Facebook is that once they started selling stocks in Facebook, you kind of lost the magic that it once had, because I have a page, the real beauty of black relationships on Facebook, and it's been stuck at like 38, almost 39,000 followers for at least since 2016. And during that time period, after that was like during the Hillary Clinton election or whatever, and everybody was talking about the Russians interfering with the election, and they had pulled up a number of some so-called black empowerment sites as being corrupted by the Russians. And somehow I am sincerely underneath the belief that my American-based page, the real beauty of black relationship, was somehow lumped into that because I didn't like I detested Hillary Clinton, and I also had issues with Barack Obama. So I was not necessarily a democratic person. I would pretty much have casted away all of the double party system at that point. So it's like, I guess it was kind of like an oddity that to see a user that the administrator of that page be simultaneously against the system of white supremacy and also anti-democratic party. So that seemed kind of odd. So this is kind of the first time I started becoming acquainted with something that I didn't know the definition of, which is shadow banning. Um, Now, all this time, I guess I really kicked off the real beauty of black relationships because I inherited from someone. I guess they let it go or whatever. I never could get back in contact with the person who actually started it. I had went from basically a few hundred to 1,000 to all these thousands of people within the course of maybe like 4 years. And it was just suddenly odd. 4 or 5 years, it was suddenly odd how I was just at the stance at that point. And now whenever I post, and usually I could get like 400 or 500, to a topic. Um, Now I barely may get like 10 or 20 people to like a post, and they have the option where you can see how many people have viewed the post, and out of you have 30, mind you, I said I have 38,000 subscribers or followers to that Real Beauty of Black Relations page. But all you'll be able to see is like when you look at your post as an administrator, and all you'll see is that maybe 15 or 20 people have actually seen the post on the timeline. Now, what that came from, and I mean that's kind of unfair because we organically built our pages up and we organically built Facebook up. What that happened was is that Facebook had begun the selling space. In regards, you have to boost your post. You have to pay a certain amount of money in order to have your post appear in front of a certain amount of people. Even though you have all these people who already signed up to your page, we should be able to see your page. Who should be able to see your page organically. Uh, I go back to say this to say that to say this. This lady is going up here and she's going to go up here and say, talk about all the negative things and the things that a lot of us who are observant of have already figured out about Facebook, and it's going to build up into something where it's going to end up being more policing efforts more security efforts in order to secure speech on Facebook. Um, and just to put an end to that, um, you know, it's their platform. And it goes back to what I was saying about representation. Under a system ran by suspected white supremacists or under a white supremacist system, or one ran by a small group of influential wealthy people, they'll only allow you to represent yourself in a way that it doesn't threaten in a way that it doesn't threaten their bottom line. So, the fact that I get the shadow bans, whatever, I can fuss and complain about it, but it's not a platform that was designed for me to gain my maximum benefit from in the first place. The only platform that would kind of do that is a platform that is black owned and black influenced and uncompromised. And once again, we're underneath the system, an unjust system that is dominated by white hegemony. But I got to rest. Once again, I'm rambling on. So I want to get to the last part. And this is interesting. We're going to speak a little briefly about Kyle Master Biden. And I hate to go, Kyle Master Biden so consistently. But the thing about it is that I spent a lot of the last 2 years before that, the 2020 election, saying I really wasn't even, because as you remember, Biden entered late. We were pretty much speaking against Kamala, and because we kind of knew that, even though that they were trying to going to run the blackface play, in order to get the black voter, look, a woman of color that we have up here trying to run for president, but we just did investigations. The new black media, and really most notably Professor Black Truth, he did an investigation on Kamala the candidate, and I spent a lot of my time um, educating the black Democrat supporter base on the attributes of Miss Harris and Miss Harris' record. Eventually, ultimately, she didn't win the nomination for president. She did, of course, win that a VP, but in a last minute Hail Mary, because after the Bloombergs and all the other neoliberal capitalists had fallen off, they had to scrounge around and see what they could dig up because Elizabeth Warren wasn't going to cut it. So they dusted off old Grandmaster, Kind Master Biden, and brought him on in there. And we people like myself, we were constantly saying, we want to, if we're going to get my vote, you have to give us some type of tangible or concrete promise in order to ensure that our community, our voting community, receives resources and let's see, constructive policy. So, yeah, because constructive policy, tangible, beneficial policy, resources and beneficial policy specifically for Black American people. Uh, the man got on one of the most popular Black radio programs and told you that if you don't know whether to vote for him, then you're not Black. And you then of course you have the foot soldiers, the Al Sharpies and the La Hughleys and you know the typical Oprahs, and then they found then then I don't understand why people didn't figure out the shady business of it how it's Barack Obama didn't come out to the end to endorse dude. So that should have kind of told y'all something that that really I don't think because if you look back into the last few years that Obama was in office, you didn't see much of Joe Biden. You might have called Joe Biden sleep in the pews out there at Obama's speech, but you didn't see too much of Joe Biden. But I say this to say this, we had put about the premise: no black tangibles, no black vote, no reparations. Reparations now. The reemergence of the reparations program, the specific demand for the descendants of our ancestors who were victimized by chattel slavery in the transatlantic slave period, and also they were our indigenous Native American ancestors as well. But I got to speed this up to get to the point to say, well, during the last presidency with Mean Master Donald, he had approved HBCU funding for really, I guess, every year that the HBCUs had to go on Capitol Hill and campaign to get their funding renewed. Mean Master Trump made that permanent where they didn't have to continue going back and forth, and I think he also had increased it. Last week we learned that Con Master Biden had decided to cut that funding by, I do believe, ironically, I think this is funny. I don't know if it was 30. I think might have been 30 billion. I mean, it was 30 billion or 30 million. But the number 30 is what really tickles me. He cut the budget of the HBCU funding by 30 billion or 30 million. Mister, if you don't know whether or not to vote for me, then you ain't black. Along with his vice president choice, do you think that I'll do anything specifically just to help black people? No. Two people that with one patronized you and the other person just flat out told your representation. Once again, representation. They'll only put in front of you the representation that they approve, not the representation that you necessarily want or need for your particular group. So now you hear that he has asked for a certain amount of billion. Let me see if I can pull that article. Biden asked for these this I got it. Biden wants $30 billion for disaster aid, Afghan resettlement, and stopgap spending bill. Now you say 30 billion, 30 billion. He wants 14 billion aid in addressing natural disasters that occurred before Hurricane Ida. Now I don't know if that was Hurricane Ida. What happened in New Orleans? Uh, did those? How long did it take? Those people? Does everybody have their power on in New Orleans in that area yet? Because I remember seeing a lot of black people running around in the street. They didn't have any power. They were trying to get food and things like that. And it took a little while. It seemed like it took a minute for a con mess to get to them people. I'm sure if someone will correct me and they'll stick up for their party. But if that is a particular hurricane that I'm thinking about, well, then I'm wondering how come is he stopped it there? What about helping them people? But once I want to get to the point, and he said he gave another 6.4 billion to cover the cost of relocating tens of thousands of Afghans who assisted the U.S. over the past 20 years. Now I remember when they first had talked about this particular war 20 years ago on this, and it became known as the War on Terror. And I always tend to overthink things. And I was wondering, well, terror is not necessarily a place. They can't say that they're going to war with bin Laden, because bin Laden doesn't represent a particular nation or country or whatever specifically. They just said they're going to war on terror. There'll be a war on terror. Okay, fine. Uh, you wanted, it was confusing to me because I was saying, well, how can you go against, commence a war against a particular a feeling or a sensation or something like terror? Terror is not a place, a person, place, or thing. Terror is not that. Whatever it is, it ain't that. So, we spent all these years over there, and I mean, and people who were paying attention, and you also think about the opioid crisis that happened. All the people on those pills, ODing on pills, and the pharmaceutical companies were getting rich off opium pills. Uh, the opium poppies were over in Afghanistan. So now, uh, opium addiction is a sickness now that should be treated, and not like the crack epidemic where people get put in prison. These people need help. Um, so now it's like, we withdrawn from Afghanistan. Because I remember last year when Mean Mouse was talking about doing it was irresponsible. The same party that done it this year were saying that it was irresponsible for him to make this statement and make that type of promise. But let me stop doing that, because it's going to seem like I'm defending the Republicans or making a case for the Republicans. And really, all I'm saying is that these people are hypocrites. Um, so he pulled out all the people and put out all the troops and left a majority of the weapons behind. The majority of those weapons that we paid that our tax dollars paid for. And then not only does he leaves the weapons behind that are worth the revenue, and also would be considered a threat if utilized by the Taliban. They left them behind, and then they bought back uh, hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of Afghan refugees, and they say that those were the people who had helped America. Let's see, they said the tens of thousands of Afghans who assisted the U.S. over the past 20 years. Now, logically looking at the outcome of what happened over there, you even an ignorant person would have to ask himself, assisted American doing what? In accomplishing what? I thought the point that we were over there for to help them facilitate a democracy. America always goes about the course of spreading democracy. So when you take that in consideration and you think about, well, like I said, all this past election, the 2020 election, black people were saying, can we get specific, tangible benefits, resources for our Black American community, and also constructive political policy to benefit our specific group in this country. We get the push around. We get we get the lift every voice. We supposed to lift every voice and sing to a fantasy. The man said he patronized once again. If you ain't black, you don't vote for Joe Biden. He told us once he wrote out this plan, and he said, well, this is to answer uh, Donald Trump. We talked to Ice Cube. Don't we gonna talk to Ice Cube? We just let us get in. We gonna talk to Ice Cube. But, I say this to say this. 6.4 billion can get a lot of things done in the amongst Black Americans. We it's just such a disrespect that we're citizens. We pay taxes. We help build this. Our ancestors and ourselves help build this country, and we make a demand from our system, but instead we have to sit and watch while other groups that come from outside of this country and have reaped from the benefits of the country of the institutions and the companies and things of that nature that our ancestors contribute into forming and building the foundation upon. we have to watch other groups come in and get benefits um, due to the fact that I don't even know how to say. Did America win the war in Afghanistan, or was it a war on terror? Was it a war against Afghanistan, or was it a war on terror? It's confusing. But the thing I get back to the point of saying, all not only do you take the little FICA, or I don't know about that's not FICA, FICA something else. They're basically taking federal taxation off of our checks, and maybe a meager amount, but I mean I could use that meager amount more than the government could clearly after the fact. We utilize all our tax dollars in order to finance this war and buy all these weapons and things and in order to help people thousands and thousands of miles away from us who don't necessarily affect our personal lives in no way in our day-to-day life. We've done this for 20 years, and now that it's over with, we don't just get to gather our things up and leave. We have to bring back. We have to finance us taxpayers have to finance bringing the people that we were over there sent over there that's supposed to help in order to take care of them. So we had to finance bringing them people back over here because of the help that they gave. But yeah, man, I really kind of had wanted to keep this short. I got to rambling on a bit. The thing I want to say is that we kind of got to get it together. I mean, a lot of times I know people. We hear this. We say this. We hear this on and now. It's black people. We got to get it together. But you got to look at the evidence and look at things and interpret things, and you have to be able to have these discussions. I know a lot of y'all went ahead and voted for Con Master, and you're really kind of quiet and ashamed because you see some of the things. Well, a lot of the things that I told you, that he's a warmonger, and he doesn't necessarily care about you. And yeah, I know you see these things. I know you're ashamed. You don't want to talk about it, but you're gonna have to talk about it. You have to talk about it because it's not gonna get no better. Y'all have a great day. These are my actionable items for today. All right now.